think that in order to set this up, what I need to do is essentially go out as low as I can here to somewhere over there at the point where the little E on the top left of my screen, you can see where it says biome river and then the day number and then E, that's the number of entities that are loaded. In whichever direction I'm looking, you'll see it goes down when I look at the void because there's nothing out there, but there's a bunch of mobs that would have spawned in the caves around these borders. What I essentially need to do is go out to a point where there are no longer any entities around, no matter which direction that I'm looking at, because that means that nothing can spawn, and so I can maximize the rate for my creeper farm that I'm setting up. And I guess if you're not familiar with how mob farms work in Minecraft, the lower you put them in the world, the higher the spawn rates are. I believe it has at least partially something to do with the ways that mobs spawn vertically. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but, you know, the less blocks there are above a spawning platform, I think the more likely the mob is to spawn, you know, where you want it to. Because when it does, like, spawn checks to see if it's going to spawn a mob, it'll, like, check a position, like an X and a Z value, and then it'll choose a Y value. And if it chooses a Y value that has a block that it can't spawn, then it will just fail the check and nothing will spawn. But if there's only one area where it can spawn, and the mob can spawn there, then it'll pass. So obviously you want to not have anything above it. You want it to be as low down as possible, and you want to make it in an area where no other mobs will spawn. Usually you do that by, you know, lighting up caves or something like that, or just putting it really high up in the sky so that you're outside of the range of where any other mobs can spawn anyway. But given my circumstance, I can just put it really low in my void area and hopefully set it up to be really efficient. Okay, so yeah, these item frames are counting as entities. You can see whenever I go and look at the majority of this room, the E spikes up to like 40 something. I think also the villagers over here count towards that, maybe? Yeah, there's about 30 of them in here, I think. So I believe that down here, where I've made this path to, should be good. Oh, it's near a slime chunk, okay. Guess I could also make a slime farm around here. Don't know if I need to at the moment, but yeah, you can see that looking over there, there's one E. I don't know what that is. There's some stuff over there. I don't know if that's because there are caves up there and there's stuff spawning. Could also be the item frames or the villagers. I think that this spot is okay and should work. So now I just have to work on putting the thing together. I did get some of the bits that I need. I don't know if this is going to be all of it, because I was, you know, following the material list for one farm design, and now I've decided that I'm gonna, you know, base it on a different farm design, or at least a slightly different one. It's still a shifting floor farm, so mechanically it's similar, but it's not quite the same setup. I was gonna time-lapse putting this together, but about halfway through setting up the redstone stuff and the shifting floor, I realized that I am not knowledgeable on redstone, so a lot of it was just me trying to make things work, so I decided to skip doing that, and the thing is built now. I haven't tested it yet, but all of the mechanisms work. This is like a clock that every now and then activates the shifting floor, which is in here. The whole floor moves from, oh god, the whole floor moves from side to side every now and then. And the creepers that spawn here, only creepers can spawn because of the trapdoors up top. The creepers that spawn in here will be below a full block because of the soul sand. Because soul sand is a little bit less than a full block, so when the cobble moves over to where they are, they will be clipped into the cobble and fall down below, where they will be suffocated, and then their drops will go into these hoppers, which will go up this item elevator up to a little sorting system up there. There's a light system here. I just put some lights up top so that I could be able to turn this on and off if I wanted to have different mob farms active. But I guess the only thing left for me to do is to turn on this light. That's not the light, that's the floor. Turn on the shifting mechanism and turn off the lights. And then I can just go in here and go up here. Put myself through the sorting system, which I can squeeze in between the gaps because I'm small enough. And then I can stand up here and hopefully things should start spawning in here. Yes, you can see there are creepers that spawn, and then the floor moves and they get suffocated in the ground. And as they do, they should be dropping gunpowder. I don't know if that's... Yep, there's some. I guess the rates obviously aren't going to be as good as like a sword-based looting farm or whatever, but a bunch of creepers spawn here because they can't spawn anywhere else. And they fall, and they suffocate, and they die, and then their drops go up. That's something interesting that I just figured out a little bit ago, is that my dynamic lighting from holding my torch lights up in here while I'm in free cam, which makes it easier for you to see what's going on. But yeah, this... Oh, I'm getting glow squids. I don't think that's bad. They contribute to a different mob cap and they don't stop the creepers from suffocating, so I don't think they should be a problem. They'll probably end up killing themselves anyway. But yeah, this should give me fairly good rates, and if things are going as they should, then the gunpowder should make its way up here, and then it goes and it hits across the side of the grindstone, which aligns it with these hoppers here, so that it can get pushed down while also being deposited into whichever hopper it belongs in. This is like a 10-year-old sorting system design that's, you know, everybody knows it. It's been around the block for years and years, and it's gonna eventually fill up already over a stack with gunpowder. So the next part of this, to get the rockets that I need, is going to be to make a sugarcane farm of some kind, which is also going to go around this area and probably feed into this same bubble column to go into just the second chest slot here. So that is what I will do now. And there is now a sugarcane farm. It's not a big one or a greatly efficient one, it's just a sort of simple design that I almost always use because it's so basic. There are some guys in there at the moment because I didn't light it up right after I built it, so he's gonna be there until he despawns, I guess, but this is about as simple as it gets. It's just, you know, very tileable, like one sugarcane takes, you know, a piston, an observer, bit of redstone, and some water inside of a stair, which is along the bottom underneath here, which is why you can't see any water inside of the chamber itself. It's, you know, it's just like 1 by 2 by 3 for one bit of sugarcane. I know that there are much more, like, space efficient if you make, like, a big area and then sweep along, like some kind of flying machine sweeper along it. You can get a lot more sugarcane for, you know, not as much water. It's more space efficient or whatever, but this should bring me at least a supply of sugarcane over a bit of time. You know, while I'm in the area, I can always make it bigger if need be. But, yeah, there's hoppers below here, and the sugarcane is on top of mud, which, similar to soul sand, is not quite a full block when you're standing on it, which means that whenever the sugarcane pops off after it gets pushed off by the piston, it will be able to get picked up by these hoppers and then sent into the same bubble column to hopefully get sorted into one of these chests. Oh yeah, well, just while I was in the process of building that very simple sugarcane farm, I have accrued over a double chest's worth of gunpowder. Needless to say, I don't think I'll have to have this thing on all the time because it's already supplied me with enough gunpowder to last me a considerable while. and I only set up a little bit of storage for it, like 4 double chests is not going to be nearly enough. If I want to have this thing consistently running, I would need like shulker loaders, and I don't have nearly enough shulker shells to make shulker boxes to be able to set that up at the moment. But I'm thinking that I might want to set up an iron farm of some kind, because the more farms I make, the more like hoppers and stuff that I need, the more iron I'm gonna need to do these things. And I only have, I don't know, maybe a stack of iron blocks, maybe a little bit more left from when I was actively duping. Yeah, a stack and 60. I don't know where I would set up the iron farm. Like, logically I would want it somewhere in this area so that it can be active while all the other farms are active. But I don't know where to put it. And also, setting that up is gonna mean, you know, breeding villages, and I'll probably want to set up like an automatic, like, carrot or potato farm or something to facilitate that. But none of that infrastructure is set up yet, so I'm also gonna have to do that, I suppose. But that seems like my logical next step, so I just kinda gotta get cracking. There is now 1 villager breeder, though I guess technically you could say that it's 5 villager breeders, because the design is stacked on top of itself 5 times. It's just gonna make it, you know, so that I don't have to wait for villagers to come in. They're just gonna kind of build up there, and then I can get them out and move them wherever for the iron farm that I'm gonna make in just a second. It's the villager farm thingy itself is not very complicated. It's just a stack of little carrot fields, and then the villagers are farmers. They grow the carrots, they give the carrots to each other, and then they breed. And then the children, they will try to go into the beds, which are in this right column, and they will fall down a hole, which makes them end up down there, and the adults are too tall to be able to fit in the hole because of the trapdoors that are there in the way. But yeah, I should now just be able to pick these guys up, move them around to wherever I need to. They're a lot easier to move now with the happy guests and the ability to put leads on boats. So I could just go over to, there was a Savannah village somewhere over there near where I got the armadillos from, and I just brought them back, put them in the thing, started reproducing them, filling up the cells with their own started filling up the cells with their own offspring. But before I get on to doing this iron farm, I wanted to take a little note of something that I don't know what or how, but the arrows that I have, you can see that they're just regular arrows, they're not tipped arrows or anything, but if I hover over them, they give 20 seconds of slowness 4, which is akin to like an entire slowness 4 potion being applied to them, and that's not usually, I think, how slowness arrows work. I have some that, like a stray, dropped in here, which give 2 seconds of slowness 4, and they are labelled as arrows of slowness, and they have a different sprite there. These are just regular arrows that apply the effect. Since they're not like a special arrow type or anything, they don't get consumed by infinity. You can see that I still have the full stack, and I have the slowness effect, which is really strange. I don't know where these came from. I don't know why I have them, how I got them, how I have a whole stack of them. I couldn't tell you. I don't know if, you know, maybe something that I did at some point caused those to happen. I've not done much tinkering with the world files, only where, like, necessary to, you know, travel through versions and stuff. I don't know if these are, like, the consequence of some upgrading or something. I don't know. They have 13 components, whereas regular arrows, at least the ones that I have in here, have 12 components. The tipped arrows have 14 components. I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about these arrows, where they came from, or how I have them, but I do have them, and they work with infinity, so, you know what, I'm just gonna keep using them, because why not? I guess also I should mention that the farms, as they are at the moment, you know, they don't look good. They don't have any kind of cover over them. That'll be something that I do at some point eventually. For now, I just want to make sure that they're up and running and that they do function. But I'll probably put the iron farm I don't know, somewhere close to the breeder, maybe like here somewhere. I want a lot of this to be within, you know, the same render range, so that I can just kind of chill in this rough area and have a bunch of my farms be active. So yeah, iron farm now. Okay, got one guy pacified. I do need to get a second one, which I can get just through this portal here. The pillagers, for some reason, one of, I believe, 2 types of mobs that can break their weapon and as a consequence be pacified. The other one, I think, is the piglin, but only the one with the crossbow. So, I don't know, I guess it's something to do with the crossbows that mean that they lose durability when they're used by whatever mob has them. Because it's like, if you get a skeleton with a bow, that bow that it has is never gonna break. So I don't know why this is the case. I don't, like, explicitly need to break their crossbows, it just makes them easier to deal with and move around, and also make them less likely to kill themselves, because my armor all has thorns on it. And so if they shoot at me, then they're gonna take damage unless I don't have my armor on, which is the case at the moment. But they do just have a very hard time hitting me. I've been finding this with like every ranged mob since I've been reduced in size. Like, it looks like these should be hitting me, but then I go into free cam and the arrows like end up over here, so even if they, you know, bounce off me, they kind of zoop over to the area where the rest of the arrows are. I guess the AI of the mob is struggling to account for where to try to shoot based on my reduced size, which is an interesting little quirk, but yeah, I just gotta sit here for like another 20 minutes while this guy does his thing. Right, these 2 guys are now pacified. They're just kind of sitting politely in their boats, waiting to be moved. I'm gonna have to bring these guys back to my area. These are the guys that are gonna go into the iron farm. They're gonna take the place of zombies, which I think are most commonly used, because pillagers have a bit of a larger scare radius, so they can affect villagers around them in a larger area, which means that I need less of them for more farm cells. And also they can be pacified, so they just won't be an issue to like hurt me or hurt anything else. So they should just be easier to deal with, and also they won't burn in the sun. Yeah, I gotta get these guys back to base. Alright, first things first, what I should do is go and get a flint and steel, because apparently I forgot to light 2 of the portals. I spotted that while I was editing together the thing that you just saw. So I will light those up. You can see at the moment that I have the schematic up. A lot of it is red, because I'm not using the exact same blocks as what the design that I got the schematic from used. If I go into my thingies for the iron farm and you see the material list, you know, there's the carpet, the obsidian is the same, the deep sleep bricks is just the general block that they used, the bed is a different colour, the carpet's a different colour, the glass is a different colour, but it's all still functionally the same. There's this, like, clock contraption in the middle here, which is supposed to, like, move the pillagers in and out of line of sight for the villagers, which are going to go in all of these areas over here. They aren't in yet. You can like see the entity, that's just part of the schematic. it shows me that I have to get the guys in there. That's gonna be the next step. But this like redstone clock thing, I don't think I care to do it, because I don't really see a purpose in it. Like, you'll still get the iron golems showing up even if you don't like take away the line of sight or whatever every now and then. I don't know what the point of this clock really is. Like, it just kind of seems like it goes off based on... There's a bit of string down there, so I'm assuming that when this villager would go into bed, it would trigger the observer, which would pop the pillager up, and then they would see it, and then they would panic. But I don't know. With that scenario, that only seems like the pillagers would pop up twice a day, and I would like more than 2 sets of golems a day. I could be entirely misinterpreting how that redstone works, how this whole device works. I don't know, but I tested it in the world that had the schematic that I got this from, with just like having them up the whole time, and the iron farm still worked fine. So I'm just gonna ignore this whole redstone partition and just get the guys in, which is the next thing that I have to do. 3 villagers in each of these things. There's 14 of them, 7 down here, 7 of them above. And the way it works is that when the villagers panic because of the pillager, they spawn a golem up on the platform with another portal, and because of the size of the hitbox, they immediately go through the nether portal to the other side, where there's going to be a killing chamber, which I haven't set up yet. That's what I should do next, before I get the guys in. But it's not going to be very complicated. It's just like, they're going to get pushed out into like a pit with lava and wither roses, and they'll just die. And because the nether gets loaded for a bit, every time something goes through a portal, this chunk will be loaded, so they'll come down, they'll fall, they'll die, their drops will go into like a hopper system, get turned into blocks of iron, and then get stored, without me having to, you know, put up a chunk loader, because the portal itself is the chunk loader. So yeah, I'm going to, I think, set up the killing chamber, and then get the villagers in, and then at the end get the pillagers in, because that's the part where the golems will start spawning, and I don't want to have any of these extra platforms around while the golems are spawning, because I don't want them spawning on these and then potentially hurting the pillagers. I guess I can also unload the schematic now, just so you can just see how it looks regularly. Yeah, they've made transporting villagers substantially easier now with the now with the advent of being able to put leads on boats. So this is the 9th cell that I'm putting together. I've done the top row, I'm now doing the lower bunch at this point. But I can just, you know, get 2 of these guys into a boat, throw a lead onto that, and then climb up here, and they will just dangle beneath me while I bring them over to wherever it is that they need to go. I might have gotten a bit ahead of myself. I haven't put the catching thing down for this next one, but it is night time, so maybe I can get away with just letting them down on top of the thing, and then they'll just throw themselves into the beds. Put them down like that. Take back my lead. Wherever it went, might have gone into the void, that's fine. And then just break the boat, they both go into bed. I do want to be getting rid of this stone as I do this, so that they don't wake up outside of the confines of where they're supposed to be held. But yeah, this is a lot easier to do at night, since they will just go straight into the bed. But it is a little bit more dangerous though, because things can spawn. So after I get them in, just put a little roof on the top, put a torch on top of that, and this is just what one of the cells looks like. They will just stand on this thing, and they will be scared by the pillager who's gonna go in there. And I've got, what, 5 more of these to do? It's really consistent at this point. All of the like finickiness to do with the villagers is pretty much gone from the game. It's just put 2 of them in a boat, bring them round, put 1 more in a boat to fill up the 3rd slot, and then move on to the next one. Honestly, I'm happy that it's gotten to the point where it's this easy and consistent, because I usually dread dealing with villagers, but it's really not so bad anymore. Okay, everything is now in place. All of the guys are in. All 14 cells have 3 guys each. That's, what, 42 villagers? And then 2 pillagers, each one on each of the 2 layers. And so every so often, you should be able to see an iron golem just pop in for like just a second, like you just saw there. There was one on that portal and there was one on that portal that I saw, and they go straight into the nether, and they get pushed into a pit of lava, and they get burned, which I guess I can show you just now. I'm surprised the portals didn't interfere, because I didn't realize it until I made the nether side, but the portal, like, to my main area here, and the portal to where this iron farm comes out are very close. Like, there's my entryway portal there, and this hole down here just goes down a long way, and it comes out here to where the iron farm is, which is like barely any distance at all. If I go into free cam, you can see there's the portal, there's the other portal just up there. I guess I didn't turn on this side. That's kind of important to make sure that the guys don't just stand in the portal like that fella currently is. If I flick this lever, then that piston's just gonna keep pushing back and forth, which hopefully should do something. I guess not for that guy since he's kind of on the edge, but I'm hoping that nothing's gotten into these hoppers to break them. Wait, am I already... No. What's happening with the crafty doodle? Oh, there's a netherrack in there. I see. Okay. Yeah, I was worried that the netherrack from the little bridges that I made would get through. I guess 1 got through, and now it's gonna start taking the iron, and it's gonna start crafting them into blocks, which are gonna go down into this chest, and the roses will be turned into bone meal, which would go into that chest if I could open it. Like so. 16 bone meal. I guess a lot of the iron probably despawned, or wait, it might have ended up in, yeah, the overflow chest. Yeah, I'm glad I put that in. I guess it's been producing a lot even while I've been in the time that it took me to like get the second guy, because I did 2 pillagers. I guess I did the bottom one. It didn't even take me that long to get the top one in after the bottom one, so if that speaks anything for the rates of this farm, then, you know, I feel like it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I did also make sure, I don't know how important this is in the making of this farm, but I made sure that everything on this nether side is contained within 1 single chunk, because I believe that the nether portal only spawns the chunk that it's in on the nether side. Obviously no more extra golems are going to be coming out while I'm in the nether, because the overworld portion is not loaded. But I guess I'll just take these iron ingots and manually craft them up. About 1.5 stacks of iron blocks, which is nothing to scoff at. And I think that makes for a job well done of the iron farm. They had to set this room up in a way that's a little bit janky because of how I did the comparator output with the other crafter, which determines when to craft the iron into blocks. I've essentially got it so that it's checking the signal strength of this crafter, which has every slot filled in, so that it'll only power this crafter when its output is equal to that one, so when it has all of its own slots filled in with iron, and then it'll send a signal through to itself to craft the block into the chest, which will then get hoppered down into the bottom chest down there. I can extend this downwards as I need to, but for now that should be enough. I say, as I'm sure I will probably come in here in future to find everything overflowing, but that is a problem for the me of the future. For now, I'm done with this iron farm, and I'm glad that it seems to be working well. But I think that one more farm that I should probably make is some kind of basic wood farm, like a bamboo thing. I don't really know how... Well, I know roughly how they work. You can do a similar thing to what I did with the sugarcane farm, or you can do like a sweeping flying machine thing. I might look into doing the sweeping machine based one for more wood, just so that I never have to chop trees again, because this entire time so far I've always been low on wood because I can just never be bothered to chop trees. So that'll be good to have. I think I just need to look into how those actually work so I can throw one together somewhere. But I'm satisfied with this. I think it's probably the biggest iron farm I've made, like, period, because I think in the past I've only made more basic ones that have had maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 cells. This one has like triple or 4 times that amount. I'm lucky I didn't have to wait on my villager breeder, because that's just been running while I've been, you know, doing other bits and bobs, as have all of my other farms. I got a few stacks of sugarcane accrued now, so I can make pretty much as many fireworks as I'll ever need. I feel like at some point I may have to cut off these guys and just, you know, get rid of a couple blocks at the end there, so that any new arrivals will swiftly be met with the void, just so that I don't have a trillion of these guys all clogging up like a billion entity counts, and then, you know, causing lag to my game, because there will probably be some reduction in performance eventually in this area because of the farms that I'm going to have around. Like, I'm going to want to put a fairly decent sheep farm in this area at some point, maybe soon. I did have to get some sheep finally around to my area to be able to make the 40 or so beds that I needed for the iron farm, so I do have just like a little sheep hole over here, but it's not like a farm or anything, it's just kind of a little sheep area. Yeah, I guess next up on the list is figuring out what I'm gonna do with the bamboo. I don't even know if I have any bamboo at the moment. I might have to go out and find some. Let's see, would it be in this one? None in there. None in there. It's not a food. Yeah, I don't have any bamboo, so I'm gonna have to find some first. I did end up just going with the basic bamboo farm. You can see now down there there's a secondary arm on the side of the little farm area thing that I've got set up down the bottom there. And that is because the reason that I wanted to go with the sweeping type contraption for the bamboo farm is because rather than sugarcane, bamboo does have like an actual like collision hitbox that you can like walk into and interact with, where the sugarcane does not. So when the sugarcane drops off, it will just drop straight into the mud and straight into the hoppers, but when the bamboo drops off, there's a chance that it'll get pushed and then land on top of a piece of bamboo like that. And I didn't really want to have loss on my farm, but as it turns out, when the bamboo grows, the bamboo that is on top of the bamboo will get pushed to the side, and then it'll just fall into the thing anyway. And I have automated turning this into wood, so I've set up the same comparator contraption here where these are all filled in, and the bamboo goes into here, and when all of this is full, turns into a block of bamboo, which then gets pushed into this crafter, which is just constantly pulsing here from these two observers, because you can just put in a block of bamboo on its own and it will turn into 2 bamboo planks, which then shoot down into that hopper, into that dropper, and then up the stream and into storage up there, which is just going to be a passive source of wood. And if I need more, I can always expand this. You can make it as long as you want, you can stack it on top of itself, though I don't really have room to do that unless I want to move around my storage room, because this is like right underneath where I'm storing these things at the moment. But it is supplying wood. I think it might be a bit faster than the sugarcane farm supplies sugarcane, because I think the bamboo just grows a bit faster generally. And also, as a consequence of having these farms going down here, I have turned my block sounds down to like 1%, because there's 2 droppers that are constantly clicking down there. There's a 3rd one, I think, further down in the creeper farm, and all these pistons that are going to be going off all the time. And so I just, from like bare, I just turned the volume down so I don't have to listen to constant clicking. But yeah, as far as basic farms go, I feel like I've set up all the immediate ones that are gonna be useful. Like, I've got my rockets sorted out, my XP situation is fine so I can repair my armor and elytra and tools. I've got a good source of iron, I've got a decent source of wood. Those are like some of the most commonly used materials in things. I may soon want to set up a gold farm, and then adjacent to that some kind of bartering farm, because there's a lot of different things that you can get out of that, and I've never set those up properly in the past, at least not ones that have actually been anyway half decent. So that may be on the docket soon. As for what comes immediately next, I have discovered a bit more jank, but it's going to mean potentially not adhering to the initial rules that I set for myself, and at the current point, those rules don't really mean much of anything to me anymore. I'm playing this world for the sake of, you know, having fun, having a good time, doing whatever it is that I want to do, so as long as I'm not, like, outright cheating things into the game. You know, one of the things that I said at the very start is that anything that I can do without cheats is valid. That stays the same. The other thing that I said about not editing the world files may need to change, because at this point that's the only way that I am able to backport this world to previous versions, which is something that I may want to do, because there's something in I think like a 1.19 snapshot that has something to do with some nether generation that I'd like. And then there's something in Bedrock Edition, and there might also be a few other things in Bedrock Edition that I would like to acquire, and then I would have to splice those things into this world, which is not using like cheats or anything. I'm not going to have to go into creative mode or anything like that. I will be able to set up like a Bedrock survival world, just get all the things together, and then take that world, convert it to a Java world, and then pick the chunks up and just move the chunks somewhere in this world, which I think is fine. I don't see a problem with myself doing that. I think that that's within, you know, as long as I figure out how to do it, I think that that's perfectly fine for me to do. And if you don't agree, then I kinda don't care, so yeah. Oh yeah, there's also just like little visual bits that have changed. I just kinda do things sometimes, so like you'll see that I turn on and off shaders every now and then. You'll see that I've now got I think it's called Jade, the mod at the top of the screen, which tells you all the things that I'm looking at, and like the contents of chests and shulkers and stuff. And also the twin drills that I got on my Teto skin, which I just added. I did a little tinkering in Blockbench and just decided to throw that together as a first little experiment. I think they're alright. They sway in the wind, kinda. It's just like a little janky animation that I threw together, but I think it looks cool. I feel like this is probably very disjointed, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be particularly formatted. I'm just kind of doing stuff. And I feel like the stuff that I've done today is stuff that's gonna help me in the progression of this world going forward. So even if I've not, like, I guess, built any cool structures or anything, or really gone exploring or shown exploring, I have had to go out to, you know, get wood, get bamboo, find stuff to be able to put together the farms, do mining for the redstone. But that's not really stuff that's interesting to see, so I don't record most of that. But, yeah, I suppose as far as things go, that's probably gonna conclude this episode. So, yeah, see you in the next one.